Welcome to the Maine-J Show. It's your boy Maine-J, and this is another episode of Maine-Chat. Hey, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. You should already know what to do. Please like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate the love, and I appreciate the support. And that's right. I didn't say appreciate. I said appreciate. I appreciate y'all. All right, let's get on it. So, I decided to wait a day or so to just kind of let everything sink in from what we all saw when it comes to the outcome of the George Floyd case. A lot of mixed emotions, being surprised, being shocked, just in the outcome of a guilty charge on 3 counts. I think when you've kind of been disappointed in the system and you're kind of accustomed to certain things, it's a shock when you finally hear that a police officer, someone in a high rank where people usually respect the authorities, respect the police, get guilty charges. A lot of the times when you see these cases, the police officers are not guilty or not guilty, or, it's a whole bunch of stuff to assassinate the victim's character, to make the victim look bad, why they deserve to die, and why the police was a hero and did their job. But in this particular case, I was really surprised that he was found guilty. But I wasn't surprised because anybody who has eyes saw what happened, that he was murdered. And there's a whole bunch of people saying, justice, was this justice or was this accountability? Was this justice or was this accountability? I believe it was accountability because he was held accountable for what he did, which in turn turned out to be justice for George Floyd's family. Because at the end of the day, George Floyd should still be here and he shouldn't have been dead, and he should never had a knee to the neck. Now, there's still a whole bunch of people that saying, George Floyd, and I heard it all through the last past year. George Floyd was no hero, and da-da-da-da-da, and the police did its job, and da-da-da. No. The thing with these types of cases, it should always be about the present. What did the person do that day to warrant them being arrested and being in police custody? Not something about stuff that they did 3 years ago and 2 years ago and they're not here. No one ever said he was a hero. We just all know what we saw, and he shouldn't have had his knee. That cop should not have, I'm not even going to say his name. He doesn't deserve his name to be said. But that cop should not even that cop, that punk, that chump, that disgrace of a police officer should have never had his knee on that man's neck for that long. He was already arrested. He was already detained. And everybody who I know that is pro-cop, pro-Blue Lives Matter, even though there are no blue lives. That's a job. Black lives is actual. We born into this. Blue lives is just a choice. But most people that are pro-cops and pro-Blue Lives Matter even have to say, hold on, wait a minute. I'm as pro-cop as can be. I'm as pro-Blue Lives Matter as can be. However, that was some bullshit. Even people who are racist, they may still be thinking, George Floyd was another nigger and all this other type of stuff. But even they had to stop and say, you know what? I may be a racist individual and I don't like black people, but what I saw, I cannot unsee. What I saw, I cannot deny. And a lot of people saying it was on his shoulder. No, it was not on his shoulder. It was on his neck. And even if his knee was on the man's shoulder, it still shouldn't have been on there for that long because he was already in handcuffs. Then they try to say he was on opioids and he was taking them every 20 minutes. I was watching one testimony for some lady who's taking it every 20 minutes and all this other stuff, and his heart was too big. No, that disgrace of a police officer, like he said, his heart was too small. So I just want to say kudos to that. Kudos to the videographer for recording the whole thing. The reason why I said that is because, they could have mess with the evidence and try to show something else, or if she would have recorded different pieces of it, You know, they could have used that, well, oh, we only have 3 minutes up here and then 1 minute up here. So what happened in between? He could have took his knee off his neck then. You know, so kudos to you for recording the whole thing and not stopping and staying right there. Now, two things I just want to say, just to play devil's advocate, because once again, we're not really used to seeing a police officer, a white one at that, you know, based off the system, based off of so many cases of the police getting in trouble. I wonder, just to play devil's advocate when it comes to the accountability and justice, when they were when they were making that final decision on whether he's going to be guilty or innocent, or guilty on one charge, innocent on another charge, did it pop into consideration after what happened last year with the bull swanky of seeing George Floyd get murdered by this disgrace of a cop? Did they take that into consideration? Look what happened last year. Now, if we say not guilty to all 3 counts, this country is going to go in disarray. And once again, could that be the case? So they had to say, you know, we have to go against the grain this time, and we have to say guilty. We have to do something, because if not, you think the looting and stuff is like, all the cities were prepared, all the cities are ready. So just to play devil's advocate, could that be it? Could that be the only reason why they said guilty? Not because they wanted to, but because they're like, we have to this time. Granted, a lot of times I do think, shoot me to my followers, unfollow me, unsubscribe, whatever the case may be. Granted, there's a lot of times when police officers do have to use deadly force. It's a hard job. They go into situations they don't know what they're going into. Domestic violence and molesters and rapers and fights and drug addicts, and they got to deal with all types of stuff, being around needles and drugs and some more stuff. And you don't know what you're getting yourself into. It's a dangerous job, and somebody got to do it. So I'm not saying that sometimes there needs to be force, and sometimes they have to do things because it's either them, the cops, or the people who they're in the situation with. They want to go home to their children, their husbands, their wives, their kids, you know, their boo things, their mistresses, or whoever. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. No one's knocking that. But what we saw was a bunch of BS. But I wonder if that's what they thought too. Like, we really have to give this man some type of guilty charge, because this country is going to go. I really do believe courtrooms, judges' houses, police stations. I believe that if he wouldn't have been guilty, like I said, even the most pro-choice, pro Blue Lives Matters people with a real brain, even if they are racist, said, hold on, we can't even defend this. We can't even say nothing. It's in broad daylight. It's in front of a camera. So that's just something to ponder on, just to think about real quick. And lastly, I just hope, whatever they charge him with, we don't know what he's been charged with yet, whatever his sentencing is, but I just hope nothing happens to him while he's in jail. I did read somewhere that he's in like a segregated place, because of course he's a cop and he did what he did, so he's a main target. But I just hope we don't end up missing. We hear, oh, he committed suicide or something like that before he can get the sentence. No, let justice really be justice by making sure that man stays alive to get his sentence and really serve the jail time. And sad to say, if they do put him in a public population, he might not make it. They saw a man get murdered for no reason. They already don't like cops as it is. So that's my spill on it. I'm just happy that justice was served. I'm happy to finally see police reform going around on the country based off of this. I'm happy to see, you know, there's a lot of police officers that are stepping down or quitting because of all these new rules and regulations. But my thing is, if you're doing your job and you wasn't breaking rules and you weren't doing unnecessary things, you wouldn't have to quit. There's a lot of police reform going on. There's still a lot of more police reform and systemic things in our police and justice system that needs to be looked at. No one's saying take away everything, but just the way how we deal and treat maybe plastic bullets, better at tasering, better at de-escalating situations, talking to people, knowing the difference between a mental health person and someone who really, is just violent or whatever the case may be. But there's been a lot of police reform, and it's sad that it had to take George Floyd's life to be the beginning of the movement, the beginning of Black Lives Matter, for a whole world to come together. They was protesting in different states, but there was some good out of his life. Sad that it had to be him. He had to lose his life. Children no longer have their father. Brothers, siblings no longer have their brother. Parents no longer have their son, uncle, whatever the case, whoever he was. But I'm so glad that people are talking. We're having these conversations, and I hope now that the family can finally get some rest, can finally get some sleep, can finally grieve, because they've been in back and forth for the last couple of years. So that's all I gotta say. Thank you for tuning into the Maine-Chat show. It's your boy once again. Please like, share, subscribe, and tune in the next time. God bless.